you have to make your home work.
Okay.
So anything that works in your home, you need to do. But then for the young people who want 50-50 now, you're not ready for marriage. I'm sorry.
Oh, Lord.
And I'll tell you
Oh,
this.
Lord.
Don't say 50-50.
Oh, Lord.
Now, if you say 50-50, that means the problem starts. Take that husband as your best friend. Think about him as your friend. Because first, before we became husband and wife, we were friends.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Fellowship. This is Rece. I'm excited today, and I don't know. I'm just really, really excited. I think every episode is super special. I say that every episode that comes on, but this one is very, very special because, first of all, before I even begin, we come hungry and we leave full. There's always, I feel like, conversations, they're supposed to fill us up. They're supposed to fill our cups, you name it, whatever. So we have a special guest in the house. And not only is this person a special guest, this person has seen every milestone. I mean, every milestone. This person knows me so well. This person is also someone that birthed me. She is definitely a bestie, in her own words. She thinks that she is David O's #1 fan. Probably like any other Nigerian mom. She is definitely the backbone of our house. She is a ride or die. She has done a lot for us, sacrificed for us, things that I don't think that, as a daughter or as a child, as someone's child, I realize what that's like, but I'm just know I'm grateful. I can say so many other things about her, but I mean, let's just jump right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, my mother.
Hello, everyone. Glad to be on the couch today. Excited, happy.
That's good. I'm glad. Are you really happy, or are you just like?
I'm very happy to be here.
Okay. First of all, y'all, my mom is very, very goofy. So if you catch her doing all these little giggles that she's doing in between, just know that that's just how she is. That's where me and my siblings get it from. My dad is a little bit more stoic, but I mean, he's goofy too, but my mom is on another level. You'll see where we all get it from. But anywho, welcome to the show, Mom.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
I'm glad that you're here. First of all, this was very, very unplanned. This was not anything that I had in the agenda. I didn't plan on. I didn't have you planned in the agenda, but I felt like, I think based on a conversation that you and I had, we're talking about episode 4. We talked about the 4 different cultures. Me and the other first gen kids that were talking about just kind of our experiences and things like that. And we had actually another plan for this episode, but we were like, you know what? It's just gonna be me and you. We're just gonna ride this out. It's just gonna be me and you. And I think that that'd probably be a little bit better. But anywho, so I have to ask you. We have to start this off. I know this is a different space. This is not corporate America.
That's right.
This is not my office. There's no name tag that says Clarice anywhere and a role or a position. But I really want to genuinely know, how do you feel about seeing all of this? Like, what are your thoughts?
I'm very excited. First of all, my first love when I was in college was to really work for a television or radio station. My background is I had a degree in journalism as a minor and telecommunications, which is radio and television, in my undergrad. And that was my first love, to be on TV and radio. So it is really funny for me to realize such a dream with my daughter, sitting here and just looking at the cameras again one more time as my first love. I came very close during my intern working at a radio station which was 90.9 KTSU FM, that I worked there. That was my intern back in the times. And all my goal in life when I first started was just nothing but to work for radio and television. Years afterwards, things changed.
And which we're going to talk about that because I have a lot to say about this whole journalism thing that you did because I'm about to read you now. So get ready for the read.
Okay.
So you're seeing all this and, just this, because I know that with me transitioning out of what you guys are used to me being in and coming into this space, it wasn't the easiest transition. We both know that.
That's right.
It wasn't something that I honestly planned. And I know that, coming from having a bachelor's in business, an MBA and things like that, it's night and day, but I will tell you that, the skills that I did learn in the office, nothing was wasted.
That's right.
It's just in a different space. And I'm actually very grateful that we're in this space for you to kind of see it yourself. Let me tell you something. Being a first-gen kid to immigrant parents is not easy,
Yeah, I agree.
And both of us, that. It's not easy and it's different because articulating that and putting that in a message that, hey guys, we want to do something different is not, it's not really a simple conversation. We have to unpack a lot of different things and so much. But I mean, I'm just grateful to be here to actually see that you're in it. That time is not being wasted and all
That's
those
right.
type of things. So I'm really, really grateful. But going back to you doing journalism. You did journalism. You're an educator, clearly.
That's
You're an
right.
educator now. And you being an educator is actually quite funny because even you telling me that you were a journalism major and you did communications, things like that. I'm like, what made you just say, no, I'm going to pursue education? Because, I'm seeing that there was clearly a shift in your career, but like, what made you say, I'm not going to do journalism?
Well, I'll call this a degree that wasn't tapped into because, first of all, when we came to America, the deal was to come for 4 years, get your degree, and then leave for Nigeria.
Okay.
And as we didn't leave 4 years of college, that's it. You go back home. And then that was our parents, the way the parents groomed us and told us that's where it's going to be. You finish your school, you come back home, you work at home.
Mm-hmm.
Well, days turned to night, and then we never went back home. And
clearly.
So then the next thing was, what am I going to do now that's close to me, actually, that I'm going to have an interest for? And each time I got jobs, it's nothing but educating people. Each time it has to be talk to people, help people do this, help. And I told myself, I said, you know what? I think I'm going to make a shift right now. And I had to go back to school to recertify in education and then decide to get a master's in it. As a matter of fact, I enjoy what I do. I love what I do. And I'm happy I did make a change.
I mean, I can see that, you being an educator, I think that you're great in what you do. Don't get me wrong. But would you say, just going back to the journalism degree, would you say that you didn't pursue it because of security?
Because of security, and then because at that time we were not thinking about using it to work here in the United States anyway.
Okay.
So working wasn't an option for us.
Okay.
The option was you graduate, you go back home. But then, and especially personally, my parents had friends who was a director of a radio station back in Nigeria at that time. And the goal was to graduate, come back home and work. So when I looked over here, it wasn't looking like there was the opportunities of getting a job and like foreigners and all that. We're like, that's okay. No degree, the degree won't be used anymore anyway. So that was, but nothing is wasted actually.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I agree with you. I definitely agree. And I know the 80s were a bit
It
different
was different.
than what it is today. I mean, you guys, of course, don't live in the time of social media
Well,
to
that's
where,
right too.
people are getting discovered on social media when it comes to journalism. And you're seeing all types of people with different types of accents,
Oh
backgrounds
yes,
that are getting picked up on social media for having
exactly.
probably 1 year of experience or not having experience at all.
Hmm.
So I get that. What do you think you would have been if you did pursue journalism?
I should have been able to see myself being one of the top um, radio broadcasters because that my love was radio and television to a point. Um, so I could see myself working in a good station,
Mm-hmm.
impacting lives and just doing what I do, talking, because I
Yeah,
enjoy doing that, socializing with people, having
we
people
know.
just
We know.
that's me. So that was where journalism came to my head. But in fact, let me tell you,
Mm-hmm.
my uncle wanted me to go to education when I came.
Mm.
Although I said no way. My parents are educators. That's enough.
Oh, wow.
But one thing led to another. Then my uncle was surprised that I went to education. So
That's interesting because I mean, like I said, like I was actually sharing with someone the other day that I wonder what you would have been if you actually pursued that career and where it would have taken you. But like you said, nothing is truly wasted.
nothing.
You know, but I also think too, because I'm so focused on this journalism piece because I want to ask you, you know, if because it sounds like you were supported by your family back at home
Hmm.
with journalism. You mentioned that you already had something that was ready and booked for you in
Yeah, my dad
Nigeria.
had a friend. Hmm.
You already had that from grandpa, like you were about to graduate and you were
Oh
like, okay,
yeah.
I can go back home.
Mhm.
So what that's telling me is that you were supported.
I was supported. And then not only that, when I went home, when they sent for me to my first time going to Nigeria actually, I visited a radio station where my uncle's my daddy's friend was a director. And I went to the
Wow.
station, and I observed and I sat with them and all that. But I went back home and I never came back again until
So, Mom, you're telling me something too that I'm like paying attention to. Your experience as an immigrant is actually it is very unique because when you hear other immigrants, and not just Nigerians, but other different cultures, this was not their experience where they already had something ready for them and laid out
mhm,
once they finish. Immigrants were just trying to make it,
mhm,
and even when we were in college, any of my friends that came over that were
mhm,
immigrants or international students, it was much harder for them. And a lot of them were like, we can't go back home because there's nothing at home for us. But for
mhm.
the fact that you had something at home, you know, what were your parents thinking? Like, oh, we set all these things up and and they were like, no, you no longer want to do it. I mean, or, what happened with that? Because,
Well, they had no. I don't think my parents didn't have any problem with me actually um, staying back because the economy of things in Nigeria back then it used to be much better. And then when the economy was kind of swindling from left to right, they were like, okay, you might as well stay. It's okay, if you're comfortable being in America, it's okay. So my parents didn't quite see anything wrong with it.
hmm, that's interesting. So now that, oh, clearly I'm your child.
Yes.
You have two other children as well. Um, when you see three of us, of course, three of us are very strong willed. We believe in what we believe in, and there's nothing that could change our minds, as you
Hmm.
can see as we've gotten older.
That's true.
Um, specifically on myself and Brad, making the career changes that we did, or I can even include Crystal. Making the career changes that we did, and just some of the decisions that we made. What kind of pushed you guys to because here's the thing from our lens, because I'm hearing that you were supported from your
Hmm. Oh
parents.
yeah.
To be very frank with you, at times we didn't feel supported because we
Okay.
felt as though, if you don't have security, forget your passion. Forget what you believe in. Forget that having hope in these things, these dreams.
Okay.
Because you know, for you guys, you're like, you got to eat. And we do believe that. And we love the fact that you guys honor that we have to eat, we have to take care of ourselves, or whatever the case may be. But a lot of times we were thinking about our purpose. And in our minds, purpose is not connected to money. We think that when you pursue the purpose, you get the money. But you guys have this different perspective that, you always got to have the security, and that's just something that you've always told, three of us.
Yes.
But what is so different from what three of us did and what you did? Or do you feel like what you did was justified?
Well, at a point, I think what I did was, I would say, justified.
Of course you
At the,
would.
at the end of the day, all we want you all to do is to be able to take care of yourselves, financially. And so when you see us trying to say certain things, it's not out of envy or out of being mean to you guys. It's out of concern and love for you. Because we don't want you all to struggle the way we struggled. Yeah, first we came in here, did all kind of odd jobs to be able to survive. Go to school, and when you go into school, parents support you, but then you still have to support yourself.
Yeah,
You're gonna have to pay your rent. You're gonna have to do things. You have to, you still have to be a young lady that I was at that time, and your parents will give you will give you, and you have to support yourself. So we don't want you suffering the way we don't want you to struggle. No way. We want you to graduate, be able to get a job, and be self-sufficient for one thing. So that's one of the things that we were really, that's what we battle with you guys. And I guess some of you, sometimes you feel we are being mean. It's not being mean.
I don't think it's even being mean. I think it's just here's the thing. Because you have two different generations.
Of course.
Two different times. Two different worlds.
That's right.
So imagine us growing up here. There's a culture here. Just like you guys grew up overseas, there's a culture there. And I think the problem is there's a lack of communication.
I agree.
You have two different sides. Both of them think they're right. And I think the dysfunction is the fact that, nobody wants to just kind of just take it easy and listen and understand the perspective. And it's very difficult to do that, especially when you're so strong about, following purpose. Because, like I said, what you're saying is not wrong. I do think, though, at times is that having parents that are immigrants, they don't realize that the more you chase the money, the further you get drawn away from the purpose.
That is true.
And I also, like I said, I don't disagree with you when it comes to security. I think that even just some of the major moves that we've made, it has we sacrificed. It has cost us money. We have lost. We have gained.
Yes.
You fell forward. There's just so many decisions that we've made that we'd even be like, man, do we regret that? And then later on, when we see the success behind why we made that mistake, we're like, well, it was worth it, but sometimes I think that the disconnect with first gen and immigrant parents is there's a lack of communication. I think that with you guys think that being louder than your children justifies why you're right. So, and I don't mean louder as in your volume, but just your words and things. Your volume too, please believe. But I just think that there's a lack of communication on both ends. And I will say this, because I know you're a parent. I know that we're not equals.
Yes.
So that's the respect as children that we give you guys. We aren't equals. You're right, but I do think that there comes a time when your children will become adults. They're making their own decisions. And the rest is history, But when you look at your three children, how do you feel when you see them today? What are your thoughts whenever you think about your children?
Well, one of the things that I see about my children, you are three children. Three different children with three different ideas.
Yes, for sure.
And some strong-willed, and some kind of laid back a little bit. And I do think that, but in all decisions that you have made, no matter even if I refuse to accept or disagree with you guys, I have to come back and say, you know what, we're gonna have to support you. Because I mean, this is what she wants to do, that decision he wants to take. For example, when my son came, he was supposed to go to med school, and all of a sudden he changed his mind, that he doesn't think it's meant for him. After he had gone through all this, everyone is thinking about bilingual doctor, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, he comes home and tells us, after taking his MCAT, I changed my mind. I'm like, oh my God.
Well, you know
what,
what?
what will I tell my, I mean, and it was so hard at that time for us to watch him change his mind. And then to add to that, oh, I want to be an actor. I'm like, oh no, that's another one again after some years. And, he went through education a little bit, but then he said, no, that's not for me. I want to be an actor instead. So it's like day and night, have shooting, getting an agent and being serious about it and all that. Today he lives in LA and, I wish him the best. And I know he will do very well.
The actors industry is totally, I mean, yes,
It's hard.
From the medical industry is not the same.
That's what I'm saying.
And so like even thinking about Brad sometimes, because I remember just his transition. And I remember when he first told me like, hey, I'm not going to medical school. And I was just like, okay, did you tell your parents? That's the first question I asked him. And he was like, I'll tell them at my own time. And he went and made his moves. But I want you to know too, that as much as it was hard for you guys to hear, it was hard for him. It was very, very hard for him. Because if there's one thing that I know about first-gen kids, we know that we have a hard time communicating with our parents. However, we don't like to let you guys down. That guilt and that fear of letting you guys down, especially when we don't mean to, it's not purposely, but the reaction and I think the response makes us feel as though we've let you down. And sometimes if you guys would just kind of breathe a little bit, and just like, and I know it's easier said than done, you're seeing it from a parent's lens.
That's right.
I think that if you guys would just understand that, it's not in vain, because in the midst of him telling you an actor was just a little bit, like me just even voicing and messaging you like, hey, I'm no longer going back to corporate America. That right there was just a smidgen. It's the work. It's the work that actually comes with it that we don't share with you guys a lot of times because we too are trying to figure it out. Not just you are trying to figure it out. So I think it's interesting because three of us are very different.
Very, very much.
And as I'm getting older, as three of us are getting older, I'm realizing that one of the main things that we share in common is our last names. That's probably about it, because we are realizing that we are really three different people. Three different people with three different mindsets.
That's right.
And some are a bit more, like you said, laid back. And even though, they're laid back does not mean that they're not in the behind closed doors sacrificing and doing all the things that they need to do.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what I think that you guys are afraid of sometimes, even with us transitioning and going into the spaces that we feel like God has called us to? I think you guys are afraid of the audience. And the audience, not more so our audience, but you guys' community and what they would say and how they would picture you and depict certain things. I think so. I think you guys have a lot, like, I think it's all about, well, what if this person says this? Or what if that person says that? And it's like, why are you focused? You would think that with the kind of children that some of you guys have, you would be so far gone from what people are saying, because we for sure don't care what people think. You know that. We don't care what people think. But you would be, I don't know, I just feel like that's y'all's biggest fear, is what people will think, and not really more so what serves us.
I think both sides. I think what people will think. And then we feel like, oh, what is the chances of success in that thing they want to do? Are they going to be independent? I mean, again, like I say, everything we do, every work we do is we want to make money. At the end of the day, we want to be able to take care of you. I want to be able to buy what I want to buy. I want you to be able to just enjoy yourself, travel, do things independently without restrictions. I don't have this, I don't have that. And, no, at the end, we just want you all to be self-sufficient. Being able to take care of yourself is our number one worry.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times people are not that so much care about what they will say, because it is what it is. Some people will say, and then their kids they're having issues with their own kids. So a lot of times it doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
So we still have to tell ourselves, and the main thing is that we think about, is there any success? Is there a light at the end of this tunnel in this thing that this child is pursuing? That it comes in our mind all the time. And we, as parents, we have to worry. And
you don't have to worry. It's a choice.
No, I mean, hey,
it's a choice to worry.
Yeah,
you don't have to.
The worry is
you're just dramatic.
Will this child make it? Will there be a light at the end of the tunnel? What happens?
Well, Mom, think about it like this. Anytime you feel like you want to worry, will there be light at the end of the tunnel? Is this sacrifice worth it? Think about when you came, that young teenage girl that came here at almost 18 years old.
That's right.
That came here by herself, and not that you even had dream. You were just all you focused on was that degree.
That's it.
Think about you coming here as young as 18 years old, and you had to do everything by yourself.
That is true.
And mind you, your aunt and uncle moved back for what was it, 1 or 2 years after?
A year and a half. At 20, I've lived on myself by myself till I got married since 20 years old.
Exactly.
So I made my errors, I fixed it, and I moved on. Nobody had to wake me up to go to school or wake me up to do anything. I have to tell myself that, hey, you're going to have to get it right. And then all that I think every day is, what will my mom say? What will my parents say? Am I making them proud? Or that's what I think that's the greatest thing that got me focused. What will my parents say? Would they be proud of me, or are they going to be sad that they sent me overseas? At that time, back in the early 80s, think about it. You're sending your child out in the early 80s.
On the other side of the world.
On the other side of the world.
Right.
So it's like, will she make me proud, or is she? But I'm glad my parents had the trust in me that, it's going to work out,
Yes. And I think, and I'm not sure if this was your circumstance. I know after having a conversation with Dad, he came here. He went to Dallas first, and he was still sending money home very, very young. And so in my mind, I'm like, okay, maybe it's because there's two different circumstances. That's why we're kind of lax. That's why we're kind of like, well, we're fine. We don't have to worry about this and that. But you guys, some of you had to send money home. Some of you were not sponsored here to come here.
I agree.
Your parents sent you here.
Yeah, they sent me.
You know, some people's situation wasn't like that. So whenever me and Dad are having conversations or disagreements, I understand where he's coming from. He had a different responsibility. He came here with his own money. He got his own everything. He came here alone. So, and then yet he was just sharing with me the other day that he remembers when he was, very, very young in his mid-20s, he was still sending money to his brother to keep him through school, and support him. And so I'm like, wow, I could never imagine being in my early 20s sending money to anyone, because you guys were initially taking care of our bills for the most part. So I couldn't imagine that. So I can see why the hustle, why the mentality is security, security, security. So, but that's what happens when you just kind of sit down and you're quiet and you kind of listen, So this is the thing, what I always tell people, when some of our audience, when it comes to fellowship, is that, the goal is not for you to agree, it's for you to just listen.
Exactly.
Because I can't make anybody feel guilty about their experience. And, one thing about Dad is he's very unapologetic about his experience.
Exactly.
He's very, very unapologetic.
He'll tell you.
He'll tell you, and that's just what it is. But I admire that, as very, very that it could be. That's what, yes, whatever. But as very like brash as it can be at times, I respect it because, I think it's very important to, stay true to yourself. And sharing experiences a lot also kind of has made me sit down and really kind of like put the math together and realize, man, we just grew up, we're two different people.
Two different worlds.
Two different worlds and two different times. And it doesn't mean that they're wrong, and just because you don't agree with it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to, continue to like, put it down, their experience. But so, you know, our relationship, as I feel like as I've gotten, and I think I've shared this with you before, as I've gotten older, and especially when life started happening and certain things started happening when I got married, I feel like our relationship has just gotten closer. And honestly, I think it's because now I'm like, okay, I think I have something now more relatable and I have something now to discuss.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think, when I was in high school, even like early college, it's not that it was nothing for me to discuss. I think it's just that, the assumption that my mom is not going to listen, the assumption that my mom is not going to understand kind of kept me away from sharing certain things. And it's not, like I said, it was nothing to be, like I'm hiding anything or anything like that. But I think that I kind of took that assumption and I ran with it. So I kind of like lost the opportunity to really, really, gain the momentum in our relationship when I was much younger. But I didn't really see the importance of it until life started happening.
Exactly.
So for instance, like I said, when I got married and realizing like, wow, we kind of share some of the same things. And there's certain things that I carry, gifts, thoughts, and things like that, that I'm like, after having a conversation with you, I'm like, my mom kind of reminds me of myself. I know we're in two different times, but I was like, sometimes I'm like, I can see myself in you. How do you see me on your end? Whenever, especially now that I'm married and certain things, life has been happening as time has progressing. Like, do you see me when you were in your 20s or your 30s?
Well, I do kind of. I mean, you guys are born here in America. And I think when I was in my 20s or in my later teens and all that, things were a little different. Like I told you, it was back in the early 80s. And things were a little different. But still, at the end of the day, we still share a whole bunch of things, similarities, on understanding things. And I know at the end of the day, you still want to make your mom proud. Just like
yeah.
I always think about how I want to make my mother and my dad proud. And I had that. And I think we share that. And strong-willed, you want what you want. And you
Right.
you want what you want.
I do.
And then you work for what you want.
Oh, yeah.
Regardless of how I feel, you may say, Mom, I'm doing this and I'm doing this because of this happened. And all I'm left to is, okay, I'm going to have to listen. It's hard. It's hard to listen.
Look,
Because it's hard to listen.
It's hard to share it. You say it's hard to listen. It's hard to share it because the thing about it is I don't want pushback. I don't want pushback. I don't want the fear of somebody pushing me away from the very thing that I know that I'm supposed to be doing because they don't agree with something.
That is true.
That's why I'm very, very particular about what I share. There's a lot of things that you and Dad may still not know about some of the things that I'm doing.
Yes.
And it's just because there's just some things that, I'm in the lab, I'm working, and if I tell you every process, you're not going to understand anyway, and that could be possibly an assumption as well, but it also doesn't mean that I'm purposely trying to hide it away from you guys. It's just, there's some things that, when you're prepping something, like I think it's best until, the bread is actually baked when you start sharing it. You know what I'm saying?
And I think that's just like how you say you called it prepping, and I think I have a word for it that I wanted to say about when you are trying to prep something or when you're cooking something. That's what I call it, cooking it. When you're cooking an idea, you want it to mature before you share it.
100%.
So, and I think that's whenever, like, business people, like as you in your level right now, I believe you got so many things in your yard that you're taking care of, you're cooking, and when you bring it out, hey, we're going to enjoy it when it's
Right.
properly done.
Right.
But at the same time, we are going to give it time. Another thing is time. You have to give it time, and you have to have how am I going to have faith that it's going to manifest, and that's what keeps you moving.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, the faith for sure. I think that, and that's just going back to like that's why I think that a lot of times, and this is something I remember telling Crystal and Bradley a few years ago. I was like, you don't have to share everything. You guys are so, annoyed and upset. It's because you're sharing everything. And I didn't tell them that to make them feel like they cannot share the good news. They cannot, share their testimony and things like that. I told them because I think it also keeps them in the lab. Sometimes when you're sharing every piece of what's going on, and family's not exempt.
That's true.
And please understand that even as children, sometimes every now and then we feel a little bad, like, man, maybe I could have probably told my parents this, like, I know, like, it's funny because, like, Dad gets really emotional when we don't tell him something.
Oh yeah,
he's very emotional.
He will say, "Your mom, you told your mom, but you didn't tell me."
Yeah, he does that all the time, and I'm like, "Well, Dad, I mean, she was in the vicinity, and it was an accident." And he's like, "Yeah, but I want to know too." And and I can understand that. I can definitely understand that. But it's like I told my siblings. It's not everything that you don't need to give every detail. Sometimes you tell people without asking them.
That's
because
true.
I think that when you tell people, there is a conclusion has been drawn. Oh, they're going to do it. When I'm asking you for something, I'm waiting for your response.
Yes.
When I'm telling you, I'm not waiting for your response. I'm not worried about, because this is what I said, and there's a period at the end of that sentence.
That's true.
So, yeah, that's just kind of how I feel, but I think that, like, when it comes to, like I said, just kind of going back to our relationship, marriage is totally different from
definitely.
when
course.
you were my age. The marriage is just so different. And, I know that you had a lot of comments on episode 4, with me, myself, Monica, Jeff, and Aaron. And marriage, Monica was probably the most talked about on that episode. And I was like watching that over, and I was hearing your commentary. And funny enough, your sister called me and was giving me her thoughts on the episode. And she was like, marriage is so different.
It is.
You guys are
For us,
so
in our times.
different. And I was like, well, Auntie IJ, tell me something else. Like, I was like, well, tell me something. Like, why is it so different? And she was like, because you guys like stand your ground. You put your foot down. For us, we'll just endure it. And I was just like, but I said, now it depends on what you're enduring.
Yes.
What are you enduring? But when you see, me and my husband and just kind of how we operate, of course there's things that you're like, I don't know if I do that. I don't know if I'm, like, what are your thoughts? Like, are you just kind of like, well, I'm rooting for them, but that works for them. Because this is what I pretty much tell, my friends is that you have to do what works for you. I think that, what it is that you guys did what worked for you. And clearly it's still working for some of you. For me, I don't know. This ain't my cup of tea. But I mean, look, what are your thoughts on that?
Over 34 years of marriage. So it's not, you guys, I'll say you have it easy.
But how do we have it easy?
Your marriages are different from us.
Okay.
We have different requirements, and we getting married straight to strong Nigerian men. It's a different thing.
Y'all were also young mothers. Y'all were young mothers.
Okay, we were young mothers.
Very young mothers.
When we got married, and so the point is that the two marriages, we are in two different worlds with you guys. The way you do see things, for example, You all may come back, OC just, you went to work or you came out and hey, you may be in the kitchen. Well, let's say, let's move it the other way. You're in the kitchen cooking. OC comes back. He's not gonna sit in the couch and be watching you.
Oh, not at all.
Oh, he's
Not
gonna
at
come
all.
in that kitchen and I see, baby, what are you cooking?
Yeah.
And then he's gonna help you, right?
Yeah. He'll either help or if I'm not done, he's like, hey, I'm about to go buy some food.
Thank you.
Okay.
But in our case, that's a different thing. No offense to our men, we love them very, very much as they are.
As we see.
As we see them.
Ooh.
So, we will be in the kitchen cooking. I may come back from work, I take off my clothes. Or sometimes you see me more my school clothes, straight in the kitchen.
Straight to the kitchen.
Straight to the kitchen.
You know
cooking.
what? You know what, Mom? You do that. I remember always seeing that growing up. You would literally drop your things, you'll go upstairs, you might change your clothes, or you might not change your clothes. You go straight to the kitchen.
That's right.
And I'll just be looking at you like, did you have time to breathe? Did you have time? Because I know you need a break from work. Like, you just need to sit for a little bit. But it's like, I don't know how you do it. A lot of your peers. And the thing about it is, what I'm realizing is that you and your friends, you guys will be in unison discussing the same thing. Y'all all have the same experience. And y'all have no issue. No one's complaining. No one's complaining.
When you have been with somebody for over 30 years and you're
right. This is true.
He's not just your husband. He's like your brother. He's your friend. He's your best friend.
Or your child. That's what you want to say?
That one?
Your child.
You wake up in the morning and you think, and why you at work or you coming back? Hey, what am I going to cook right now? What am I going to cook for this man?
You used to do this thing that used to piss me off. We'll be driving somewhere. Oh, my husband didn't eat today. And I'm like, I'm sure he can go to the fridge. Like, you would always do that and it would annoy the hell out of me. But you know what? I was like, maybe that's just what they do. That's probably their thing. Like, well, I'm telling you, Osa's not waiting on me to, like, especially if I have something to do, that's not how he's not doing any of that. And I appreciate that because to me, I feel like, okay, he's respecting my time. He knows I probably need a break. I'm probably tired, and that's just our understanding.
Yes.
But I had to also realize that's probably y'all's understanding too.
But interestingly, these men are supportive, during the childbearing years. Oh, they were very, very supportive. I mean, they will be there.
And then your child turned 30.
They don't know where.
And then your child turned 30. What?
Oh, I'm telling you. But they were, I'll give it to them. They are, they are very supportive at that time. Whatever they have to do at that time when they were younger, they'll do to help support you.
Mm-hmm.
But, at this age, at this time, so a lot of times are retired in their 60s and you expect them to come and be running around the kitchen? Nah, it's not going to be happening. But, the younger you are, just make the best out of this, your husbands that you have now. They are supportive. These men now, I give it to you guys. You're on modern times and the men understand very, very well. And your husbands get it. Not that our own didn't get it back in the day, but remember where they're coming from.
I will tell you this.
So these are two cultures.
I mean, even the husbands of today, not all of them get it. Like, sometimes you have to write it on paper and hand it to them and show them, like, hey, this is 1 + 1 is 2. Like, you do. There's times where we're just like, okay, I don't even know how you curated that in your mind that's okay. So, I mean, I feel like, but I do understand where you're coming from.
Yes, of
You're
course.
saying that this is more modern times, so, more people are kind of assisting each other.
That's right.
I think it's just a cultural difference.
It's a culture.
I mean, because when you go back home, I mean, there's still people that are still doing it y'all's way.
Let me tell you. For example, when I was growing up, I've seen my mother. She would get off work. She's doing the same thing my dad does. She'll get up, go to the kitchen straight away, start cooking, trying to make sure what dad, and that would be on the living room reading his newspaper. Just and then mom is cooking, making sure that we all eat. I'm begging. She's a working class woman as well.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't a stay-at-home mom who never did anything, but she worked. But her job is to make sure every time her husband eats that there's food for her husband to eat. That's very important for, to my mom. So, and I guess with that in my little head, when I came here as a young girl, the culture is still in me. And I try, no matter whatever happens, for one thing is that regardless that you guys are born in America, that's okay. But you also have to do little things that, as the African mom I am, I have to still tell you that. This is the way it happens. Hey, you may take it or you may throw it away. But all we know, we have to tell you guys, So it's just how am I going to put it? It is your choice.
Of course.
To take what we're telling you, purify it your own way, because every marriage is unique.
Yeah.
What works in one home will not work in another. We have a lot of, I have some of my homeboys, some uncles or cousins who love to be in the kitchen and do little things in their older age.
You don't even find some your age that likes to be in the kitchen.
They like to go there, get their own food, heat up, some men are dead. Oh, do we have any food in that kitchen? But there's food in the fridge. But they don't know there's food in the fridge till you bring it out.
Oh my God.
So every home, every house, every marriage is unique, and we have to treat it like that.
Yeah. So okay, we're on this topic. This just kind of came to me. So of course you see all these things that's happening on social media when it comes to relationships and marriage and things like that. And one of the biggest topics, especially with some of my single friends, they're dealing with the question of, these things that's 50-50. In your time, was 50, I know 50-50 couldn't have been a thing because
never.
Now, right, child mama said never. So
no 50-50, no. And, again, like I said, it depends on how your household works. There's nothing like, if you want to put 50-50 in marriage, then the marriage is going to go, it will dissolve quick.
Well, Mom, but here's the thing when I say 50-50, people are talking about money.
That's what
that's what you're talking about?
That's what I'm coming with.
Because people are saying 50-50 with 50-50 bills.
No, you can't do 50-50. I mean, again, depends on who has the bigger hand. Is it the wife who has the better job, or is it the husband with the better job? How are you going to make it balanced so it can work for the family?
But what I'm noticing with y'all's generation, even if because I know that time women were not making more than men. That's still a battle right now. But women are making significally more than your
men.
time.
Oh yes.
But during your time, even when men made lesser money, they still handled the house.
Yes. Because in the true sense of African way, that the Nigerian way that is supposed to be, is the man, regardless of how much the woman brings in.
Right.
The man takes over. The man tries to build the house. But you know how much your husband brings in. And it's your job to say, okay, honey, I'm going to support you. I'm going to be doing this. You don't even have to tell him. It's by the way you be doing it, handling business. But
during that time, were men asking you guys, "Oh, you have to help me"? They would just do it, because now
at the
men
time,
are over here asking.
Remember, when all of us, when we got married, at that time, in your time right now, the men are taking over. The men are running everything. They're doing things. Right now, some of them are retired, and a lot of times, some of us that are working are supporting their husbands.
Right.
So you have to make your home work. Okay. So anything that works in your home, you need to do. But then for the young people who want 50-50 now, you're not ready for marriage. I'm sorry.
Oh, Lord.
And I'll tell you this. Lord. Don't say 50-50.
Oh, Lord.
Now, if you say 50-50, that means the problem starts. Have you take that husband as your best friend. Think about him as your friend. Because before we became husband and wife, we were friends. Boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever you call it.
So the discussion of 50-50 wasn't even y'all were just dating?
No, we didn't start, we never did it. No.
Wow. That's interesting, because that's been a hot topic on social media, 50-50, where they take you out at. It's just so many discussions.
I have to tell you this. I know for one thing, when I started, when I was younger, and even before we got married and all that, I never told my husband where to take me. He will, and he will call me and, let's go here. Let's go here. We're going to this place. We're going to. It's not my job to tell him where to take me. For what? Why will I tell a man where to take me? and you're supposed to be you know where you think you want to take your
So
your female to,
okay, so
or
you
your girl
believe
to.
that he has to have everything set up to where you shouldn't have to
Yes.
tell him how to set you up.
No. I'm not supposed to tell you anything. You're supposed to take me where you want to take me. And I remember in my time, he would tell me, okay, Ada, we going over here. And then my husband, of course, he would take me. Hey, we going to, you want to go to this party, or we can take you to a club, at that time.
Not the
And then,
club.
oh yeah, of course. At that time when we were dating, we will go. We will go.
What clubs were you going to?
What club are we going to? Oh, you think we didn't go to club?
Please stop.
I'm being
Please.
honest. I'm just saying the way it happened.
Okay.
Because we just didn't get married immediately.
Understood.
Okay, so we have to do what couples did, went out to eat, to drink, whatever he takes me to was okay.
You guys were outside type of people. Oh my God.
Hey,
Okay. Well, that's funny. So like,
but let me say something
go
again.
ahead.
Social media has done a whole lot of damages in relationships.
It has.
I
It
have to tell
has.
you that.
It
And a
has.
lot of you are looking at the social media so desperately that, what this person is doing, don't let the hype fool you. Because that person that's showing all these fine pictures may be having a hard time inside. So don't so that's the point, that young people now are all social media, how am I going to put it? Freaks. So how am I going to put it?
Yeah, that's right. Freaks.
You like to show here, show there, show here, show there. So, but I guess that was a plus for us. We didn't have that issue. We didn't have that problem.
Even us when we were in college, like social media wasn't a thing.
When you were in college, it wasn't there.
But the thing is with our times is that we feel like if you don't post it, no one's gonna believe it. And so now we're trying to we're having people we're giving people expectations.
Oh well.
And we're giving people, we're opening the door for people to come in our house. And forgetting that these people don't care.
Exactly.
They genuinely don't care about what you have going on, and they're not going to help you.
Exactly.
So you trying to prove a point to an audience that is not worried about you every day and is not with you every day it's I don't know. I don't know, but I think that I will say this too. Since we're on the topic of social media too, Mom, I feel like growing up,
yes,
especially like me and Crystal, we're the only girls clearly in the house. Mm-hmm. Do you think that do you think that the way that people are with social media now is because maybe our parents did not instill in us who we are, that confidence, that just certain things? I feel like because it was more so growing up, it was more so do as I say, but not showing me how to do it and how to retain that. You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense. Like I feel like, okay, women right now, I would say like not all women, but some women, especially I would say the younger generation, like the Gen Zs, everything that they're posting is honestly so that they can show other people. They want to look good in front of other people. And sometimes I ask myself, like, is it because maybe somebody at home is not showing them, like, not necessarily who they are, but helping them believe who they are and who they are? I don't know, like, if that makes sense.
I think people are looking for social validation. That's what I call it. Social validation.
Understand, but like I'm saying, like how we have a mother, but our mom is over here telling us, "Oh, you need to be doing this," and I'm like, "Okay, well, show me how to do that. How do you, Mom? Have you taught me about confidence? Have you taught me about this? Have you taught me about that? How to like kind of act like a lady or do certain things? I don't know, in order for me to not receive validation from social media, because there's a lot of women that they have present mothers, but they didn't have that person to pour into them, to make them feel like they don't need this."
I think sometimes it's lack of communication, again, I would say, between the daughters and the mothers. And a lot of times,
it's a hard relationship too.
Yes, and a lot of times, we may say things to you guys. We say just, how am I going to put it? I think some parents, some mothers try to tell their kids the right thing they think is right. And then when the kids are out there, they're doing something else they think is right. based on what they've heard. Social media said this person said that, my mom said this. Oh, my mom was wrong. I'm supposed to do it like this, but it's supposed to be done this way because my friend did it this way. So a lot of times we borrowed so many, we go through so many barrels. Cultural differences falling in place. You guys are looking at your friends that tell you this or tell you that, and then you kind of slip off from what your parents told you or what your mother tell you. Because to me, I believe when I was growing up, and I think my mom and I think my mom said a whole bunch of stuff, told me a bunch of stuff, and it was even, I would think you guys have more time with your mothers. I didn't have much time with my mom because each time you live in a dormitory, you come back for holidays, you go back to school again, so it's like that.
Okay.
You don't really spend much time with your mom. We don't really talk too much with our mothers. But, they tell us, they give us the rules and regulations and what, go off
follow it.
And that's all they do. That's all they do for us. And then at the end of the day, some of us that came to America, you finish high school, then they ship you to America.
Okay.
And then right now, I have more time with my daughter than my mom had with me.
Wow.
Oh, yes.
Wow.
And, we shared a whole lot because I didn't stay too long with my mom. I mean, to my 18, and then you've been over here, sent overseas. True. So it's like the time I spent with mom was like during the holidays. Mm-hmm. I spent time with mom. Then after holidays, you're back to school. Then you come back holidays. Then you back to school again. Mm. And then after holidays, think about it. After school, you're shipped to America. So, I mean, I spent time, and yet anything that I learned from my mom said, I still took it to my heart coming to America. I still had to think about what are my mom's values? What values did she share with me? Mm. By the way she did things, by what she told me, and all that. And as young as I was at that time, it was still clicked in my head that mom don't like this. These are not the values that I was raised with. And I have to do it this way. Mm. And of course, we didn't have any social media. Maybe that's why things were different at that time. That's why we stated on what our parents taught us, and what my mother, especially, who was very, very close to me, believed in, and stated, and just so. So we thank God that we didn't have social media in our time, and I guess that's why everything parents stated or mom told you was your value. You were raised up with a value, and we stay with it.
So, okay, that was very interesting that you shared that about, because I didn't realize that you really didn't spend a lot of time.
No, I didn't. No,
with grandma, because I mean, you were in and out of the dorms. You also left as a teenager.
Yes.
So it's just kind of like, and you just had to kind of figure things out on your own.
I had to figure, yes, and then the little things, and I thank God that I still have that values my mom taught me as a very young girl, and it clicked in my head because each time I was over here, I would always tell myself, what will mom say? Mm-hmm. When I met your dad was like, what about your dad? I say,
of course, daddy's going to say
what will my mom say? It's always in my head. Mm-hmm. How will she feel? Will I make her proud? Mm-hmm. And that's what kept me going till I got married. It kept me going because I have to sleep on that every time. I was thinking, what will mom say? Will I make her proud? So think about it. And so you guys are spending more time with us. And I can't see the reason why you all won't put that values and grow with it and have the confidence as a young lady that you guys are awesome young ladies.
Well, Mom, because a lot of times, especially growing up, it sound more like rules. Okay. versus us feeling, like, okay, mom's looking out for our best interest. It sound like an ultimatum. If we don't do this, this is going to happen type thing. So we're not receiving it like that. But and that makes me get into my next question, because okay, you came here young. You got married young. You had a baby young.
Okay.
You were young.
Yes. At least I had you guys before.
I mean,
Yes.
So you being in your 20s, mm-hmm. You're married.
Yes.
you have a child.
Of course.
Were you prepared for motherhood? Because, and then just like, I want to know, were you prepared for motherhood? Because a lot of times culture will tell you, oh, you get married, you have the baby, and then, but they don't tell you how to build the relationship and retain the relationship, because you have two daughters. So it's like, you're like, okay, I didn't spend that much time with my mom, especially when it comes to like, what I'm hearing is that the emotional side, I physically saw her, but the emotional part, the part where I just probably want to just have girl talk, kind of like what me, you, and Crystal do.
Mhm.
But you know, were you prepared for motherhood, even though you didn't really have all of that with your mom?
Well, I think the female instinct in me, because anyway, I wasn't really prepared. How am I going to put it?
You were like, well, I'm pregnant.
Oh yeah, that's what and then my husband, and then we were all young people anyway, so we had to say, okay, what we're gonna do now. And I tell you, I have awesome friends.
You had a community.
I had a community of friends. I have friends that are like sisters to me. I mean, imagine when I had you, I have friends that came and spent time with me. I spent a day with me, a night with me, just a weekend with me. Think about it. So I had a community of friends who supported me throughout the pregnancy thing.
Okay.
And if I have any problem, I always call them and tell them this before mom is too far. At that time, there's no phone, wasn't that rampant overseas.
Right.
So, but I have friends over here who were very supportive, who, if any problem, when I first got pregnant, I'll call them and I'll tell them if this is happening, and they'll tell me, they give me advice of what and what. And then, so those were very, very good friends of mine that I have to this, that, and they're still my friends up till now. Who saw me throughout everything. Any problems, when I had the baby, they were there, they came, they supported. So I had a community of friends. So I didn't really miss my mom like that. So I have friends that were very supportive.
Well, clearly the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, because I love my community. When I tell you, like, just the support that I have had over the years, I can't even count, that's one thing I think that we have in common a lot, because you do have a great community.
Oh yes.
Up until now, and we've reaped the benefits of your community.
Oh yes.
And even dads,
Yes.
we've reaped the benefits of these things, and I truly understand where you're coming from. So it's not like you missed that portion. You were just so it's not like you were like, I'm longing for my mom to be here.
No.
Because as far as I'm concerned, I can't have no child here and I have my mother here. Like that's because I see my mom every time. So that's why I'm just kind of like, well, I don't even know how some of you did it. And it's a lot of you did that.
Oh yes.
A lot, and some of you didn't even go back to Nigeria.
No, we didn't.
For how long,
Yes, so. And it is, again, like we said, like I'm telling you, the community was all that we had. And to be honest with you, community and friends, good supportive friends, that's what put us through at that time in the 80s. That's what put us through. Because without the community of friends, that we have, it should have been so hard.
Yeah.
But, you have really good friends, genuine friends that saw us through. And it's like each time that, we have to do something, we will come all together, do it with love and understanding, So I am, so happy that we have great community who will.
I love that, because it seemed like a very pivotal point in your life where you were having children, and you were married in your 20s, and just having that community, especially when you're transitioning and you're there's changes happening in your life. You're in a new space, and then you have people that clearly were in common with you.
Oh yes.
So just having that circle is great, because I know for me, when I had pivotal changes happening in my life, I was very particular about who was in what space, especially with certain seasons, seasons for sure matter to me, like this one right now, and, you even talking about community, sometimes this is me just speaking for my siblings as well. It used to annoy us when you would tell us, oh, have you talked to so-and-so? Oh, what about this person? I'm like, Mom, I haven't talked to them in like 20 years, you know? But what it also tells me is that you guys care so much about community.
Oh, it's
You
very
guys
important to
care
us.
so much about it. And for us, in our mindset, as first gen, is that we don't talk to nobody, don't talk to us. You know, we
That's
don't,
why
we don't.
we get shocked. That's when you're let me tell you something about that. That's why we find it so hard when our kids are getting married and we don't get invitation to the wedding. Or
Here we
now
go. Here we go.
we don't get invitation.
Here we
We're not
go.
invited, and the kids are saying we want only 30 people to the wedding. We want only 100 people.
Because
Like
who's
we
gonna
just
pay for the rest of them?
and then we are like, okay, and this person is cool with me. This person is cool with me. Who am I going to take off? That's our problem, right
It's
there.
so interesting because that was one of our biggest arguments when I got married.
Oh, you know.
Is not anything else, not if the hall's gonna look this way, if the food is gonna be taste like this, if drinks, it was people. And like I was just like, why do we need people that we haven't seen, spoken to, or are not really for this season at these monumental events? These are milestones. And I think that for us, milestones matter. Milestones don't really matter to you guys.
It does matter.
This is okay. Okay, let me not say that it doesn't matter to you
Okay.
guys. I think it matters to you guys, but I don't think you guys understand how sacred like milestones are to us. It's sacred to us because you can't let everybody in. But for you guys, you're like, well, let people support you if they want to support you. And we can never see eye to eye on this topic. We can never see eye to eye.
All of you guys, we rest our case on that one.
Just
'Cause
like
we cannot win, so we give it up. All of us that our kids are getting married, we are going through all the same problem. All of us.
Why do you feel like
All of us.
why do you need to give an invitation to somebody who you haven't talked to in 15 years to your wedding?
No, well, I'm just saying we have talked to them. We're talking to them. Your parents are talking to them. Tell me.
Your parent, I'm glad you said that. Your
Well-
parents are talking to them, not your children.
And they'll feel bad if we don't invite them. Till this day.
You know what?
Let me tell you something.
You can't please everybody, Mom.
Let me tell you something. To this day, that way when you had your wedding in Cancun, there are some people who are still saying, we couldn't even go to Cancun. They didn't even invite us.
What I don't understand is, because that's why we were very specific about how many invites you guys could have.
I know.
Even though you still went behind my back and invited somebody that was an uninvited guest. But we're not going to go there. I'm going to let you have that because the damage was done.
Oh, well.
And sis came with smiles and all.
And she was happy too.
And yes, because you invited her. Our thing is that these are sacred moments.
Okay.
When people are getting married, when people are having babies, you will start to, because for us, when you get older, the circle's getting tighter and it's getting smaller. For you guys, oh, you know what? I just thought about this person a few minutes ago. Let me call them up and see if they want to come to X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, when is the last time y'all talked? Are y'all sure y'all friends? You know, but for us, we're just, as we're getting older, we're realizing who needs to be in certain spaces because, Mom, you can't let everybody in, like I said.
I heard.
You know, I'll put it to you this way. And this is my thought process. I don't know if everybody thinks like that, but you know, it's even to the point like, you know, when I have children, I feel like if I can't even have you around my child, why would you be in my house?
That is true.
If I don't even feel comfortable with you, like, why are you in my house? That I don't see the point of that, you know? There are some of my very close friends now that, you know, I can count, like they tell me all the time they can count who they even invite to their house. And I'm like, really? Like, you know, because we go to their events, there's more people at the events. But, you know, it's a difference when it's an event too. You know, you're making merry, you're having fun, everybody's toasting. But when it comes to that house, like opening that door, I'm letting you in my space. And that is sacred.
Yeah, you're right.
So that's all I'm saying. But for you guys, you're like, well, we just let everybody in. It's all a good time. You know,
of course, that's the way we be.
Because I mean, we all love to fellowship and have a good time, whatever. But when it boils down to it, who are you going to let inside of your house?
I agree. That's
you know, and I mean, and don't get me wrong, everybody doesn't wear. Everybody, you know, is not wearing a bad mask or a scary mask to where you can, you know, you have discernment and pick out who is who. But I mean, I feel like, you know, there's just certain stages in my life where I'm very, very particular. And it also doesn't mean I'm closed off and I don't like people. No, because
Okay.
I think there's associates and there's people that, are family. Because
That's
now
true.
my friends know this. I don't
Mhm.
even call them friends. They are counted as family to me. And if
Okay.
I count you as family, you can be in my space. And even every family can't even be in your space. So
That
let
is
me just
true.
say that too.
True.
Not all family members can be in your space
I
as well,
agree. I
you
agree.
know.
That's true.
But yeah, I think that's one of our differences that we always have, especially when I have this conversation with dad. It's just like, I'm just like, you know what, let's agree to disagree at this point. They're not coming over. Okay. And you can be upset and that's okay. Because guess what? We're at least us, we're still gonna be daughter and father tomorrow. These people, they pick and choose if they want to call me. They pick and choose if they want to be in my space.
That's true.
So it is what it is. I wanted to actually discuss with you when it comes to even, transitioning, like, for three of us, your children.
Okay.
You know, we are, like we're very strong-willed. We believe in what we believe in. And, as you can see, you have children that are outside of the city, outside of the state.
Uh-huh.
Do you ever still feel like, man, I wish they would have stayed, or, like, how, or are you kind of like, well, you know what, they're adults.
You know, uh, every parent will wish for their kids to be with them. But
Mm-hmm.
one thing is we have to understand is that you are growing up, you are making progress by moving on.
Mm-hmm.
After all, my parents, I'm not living with my mom and dad today. I mean, I've moved on ever since for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can leave home, if I can leave home, all of us left home. Everybody's married and we gone different places. Hey, it is what it is. We're gonna have to come to that agreement that these kids are gonna have to move on.
Right. Even with what you're saying, because I'm sure you have peers that they just can't let go of their
Oh
children.
yes, I
You
do
know,
have. Oh yes,
with
definitely.
you experiencing what you experienced with three of us, because I'm saying this in general. People don't even know the details of how
Mm-hmm.
we all got into our own space,
Mm-hmm.
but which it was work for us to even be where we are.
Mm-hmm.
But with your experience, how do you, advise your peers on just allowing their kids to fly?
I mean, again, we have to all know, all my peers, I know some of us want to hold on to our kids so bad. We don't want them to move out. We have this idea, we have that idea. Oh, it's better off for you to be here till this happens, especially the young ladies. For one, back in the day, we want you to live at home till you get married. But it's not gonna be like that because a lot of you are professional people. How am I gonna want you to come and stay in one little room, subjected to one room to stay in there? You're not gonna be free. I mean, what makes you? You have to. You're a bird. You have to fly,
Mm-hmm.
and that's one of the things we have to come to that agreement that these kids are my son is all the way in California.
Mm-hmm.
Daughter is in Dallas. You're the only one that live in Houston. So you're married, you're gone. So the point I'm making is that we still have to let our kids fly.
Right.
And for the right flying,
Mm.
they have to move. That's growing up. That's one of the growing up that we have to understand that the kids have to grow. They have to go.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
No,
all
understood.
we need to do is pray for them and wish them well.
Yeah, understood. Speaking of prayer, I don't know why I thought about this, but like, even like, of course, three of us are believers. But did us, when we went off to college,
Oh
were
yeah,
you ever
all of us.
afraid of us like losing our faith, or like because here's the thing, we grew up in church. We
Definitely.
grew up in church, three of us. But I think that us growing up in church, we were going for routine, and we were going because we had to, because you guys made us. We weren't going because we were like, oh my gosh, we are so on fire for God. We were going because you guys made us. And honestly, it was entertainment for us.
I agree.
But now, seeing that your children are believers and your children are, have this faith and things like that. Has it ever come across your mind that you were scared that we would lose our faith, or that we would kind of, look into other arenas?
But I have never seen you guys losing faith because I know the
Mm,
Bible is all of you guys are all. How am I going to put it in the Word? And I know you were taught that this is the way to God. Going to college, you're grown out there. We believe that what kept you from the house will still keep you out there. And that's that little bit belief that there's God out there. And I do believe that I know a lot of kids who go to college and they will lose faith. That happens. But
I mean,
I never had doubts. I never had doubts.
there's so many things in college,
Oh
or
yeah.
just not even just in college, in places
Yes.
that will, because the thing is, I was sharing with a really good friend of mine yesterday that I think that with our generation and then even the younger generation is that we're looking for answers.
Yes.
And we're looking for
Fast.
the right now.
Mhm.
So we'll dive into anything that will give us the answer or give us an opinion, and we'll roll with it because we believe that that's going to happen. But we not even realizing that some things take time. There's going
Yes.
to be things that take time, and I think that if we didn't have our own persecution, we didn't have our own type of trials and things like that, we wouldn't have realized that, okay, this is time. You kind of have to think about it like, putting the seed in the ground. It's not gonna come from the ground tomorrow. But we, like I said, we are in a generation where we need the right now. We don't believe that things take time.
You know what I call that? Microwave generation.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Microwave. Now, let's put it 10 seconds. Let's go immediately. But we don't think that, a lot of times, the young people don't think that it takes time for something to manifest. Give it time. Work hard and give it time. Work hard, give it time. But everyone wants to be rich today, get it today. Oh, I've seen this person. Don't you know, you know the kind of car he's driving right now? He just showed me a Lamborghini. Oh, I'm going to try to make sure I'm going to outdo this person. But you never ask yourself, what did that person do to get that Lamborghini they're driving?
Mm.
Do we take time to think? Always remember, walk according to your pace. Sit down before you lean. But some people want to already start leaning before they start sitting there. And if you do that, you're going to fall.
You're gonna fall down.
So always, everything has to take time. People work on things. It takes time. Just give it time. Have a little patience and wait.
I agree. It's a bit sometimes it's I understand also where the younger generation sometimes is coming from. Because, when you are working on something so much and so hard, and you're putting blood, sweat, and tears in something, and you're like, I don't have the return of investment.
Oh, yeah.
What's the ROI? What's the result? And there's not a result yet. It's easy to fall into something that'll give you the quick
The
fix.
fast, oh boy.
It's so easy. And a lot of times too that you don't know, like you may know with first gen is that we saw our parents struggle. We've seen our parents suffer.
Oh, yes.
And we don't want to suffer like that.
Exactly.
So we sometimes, whether we're making the right choices or the bad choices, we're thinking about the origin.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So, and it doesn't make it right. It's not to justify why that should be right, But I do think that a lot of times we saw our parents struggle.
Oh, yes.
And we're like, we don't want that. Forgetting that life is still going to bring struggle. May not be financially, but you're going to struggle in something. So, I think that's where the kind of the lack of education comes from, is that, we just think that, oh, well, if we just fix it, oh, well, if we just get it right now, all of our problems will go away.
Yeah.
And that's not truly the case. Do you see your children, far beyond? Okay, well, let me go back. So I remember being in college, and I was, I left the science building, went to the business school, and when I went to the business school, I remember being so afraid to tell you guys, but I was like, I'm still gonna do it, And I think that's kind of where my boldness kind of started around that time. But do you feel like all the things that, you guys kind of told us then, and even myself, whatever you guys told us then, do you guys, what you see today, do you guys believe you were wrong?
That's a hard question to ask.
Because I know y'all don't want to be wrong.
Um,
That and that's okay. Just tell me that you don't want to be wrong.
well, it depends on what part you look at it,
Oh
you
Lord.
know. Because for you, I know you've always, since we are five, you've always said you want to be a CEO. For some reason, I don't know why a 5-year-old would say she want to be a CEO. And she doesn't know what CEO, but she always said she want to be a CEO. Because she loved to write at that time. She loves to do things, cook, do little things at that time. And she would always tell herself she want to be a CEO. And in my head, I was thinking, I said, well, now, we wanted you to go to school of pharmacy. That was a deal, what we wanted you to do. But then you choose a different path. And hey, what will we do? We said, okay, we support you. But we gave you all these examples of people who didn't make it. I'm sorry to say that, but we said that based on us
Yes.
as foreigners,
Yes. Agreed.
because we wanted you guys we want you to succeed. We don't want to hear, oh, she graduated, she didn't get a job. I'm telling you, I call my friends from here that their kids did business instead of going to med school. And I remember, and the lady told me, she said, Ada, she'll be okay. Oh, it's okay, she'll do. But but I'm glad I listened to her. I know, apart from anything, I know in the long run it'll pay off. And we're gonna be happy.
It's really beautiful to see you at this point. And because I'm not gonna lie, Mom, at one point I didn't think y'all would ever get to that. Because when you're in the thick of it, everything hurts.
Oh, boy.
The pressure to impress you guys and please you guys and still pursue what we feel like we've been called to do. It's like you're playing tug of war at times.
I know.
And it's almost as if, maybe we shouldn't do that thing to like, let's decrease the energy, the tension in the room and just like do what they said to do. And it's like, okay, so are you now living for your parent or are you now living for what he's called you to do? Like, what do you, I mean, we're living for him, of course, but it like, I would always think sometimes, I'm like, for people that, especially with Nigerians, you guys put church over your heads. Like, if we're not in church, it's like all hell breaks loose. And I would think that all that church y'all go to, there would be some kind of faith in your children that they will be who they are called to be. But I love that you said that, you admitted that, we were comparing based on foreigners.
Yes.
Based on,
yes.
And you guys forgot that we were
based on us.
And
then the point is that you guys are born Americans. And a lot of times we struggled based on what we did. And, we chose measures based on what we did that we thought we were living back to going back to Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
And so we chose. So now, when things changed, we wanted to tell our kids, listen, we don't want you to go in this route. But again, I guess we forgot that these kids are Americans. They're born here. They have a different idea. They have different doors that may open for them that will not open for us being foreigners. So, but a lot of times we still have in our head that we want these kids to be able to graduate, to be able to find jobs. At the end of the day, you want to take care of you.
But Mommy, but even you saying that the doors and the opportunities, you guys forget that there's doors and opportunities for us
for
here.
You guys, yes.
Do you know that we don't even know there's doors and opportunities? We don't even know that too. You guys being foreigners is a different lens, but from our lens, we don't even know there's opportunities because
doors and opportunities.
We're so focused on what the other person is doing or what you guys are saying that we forfeit the opportunity to go and reach the goal that we're supposed to be reaching. So we don't even know that. It's interesting now, like in this space, I'm also a business coach. So when I'm coaching some of these entrepreneurs through these sessions, a lot of them don't even know what they don't know until I say it, And sometimes I'll be asking myself, well, how didn't you know that? And you're an entrepreneur. Oh, well, no one ever told us this. And then on top, or some of them have cultural backgrounds like myself that will say, well, this was not a thing we discussed at home.
Oh, yes.
And so it's interesting you say that because we don't even know that we have doors open for us because of fear The fear of lack, the fear of what our parents' response, the fear of not being supported, I think to me is number one. That's why we don't pursue it, you know? And so, and that's one of the reasons why I love this generation. I know people say what they want about Gen Z, people say what they want about millennials and things like that. But one thing about those two generations is that we're not going to take no for an answer.
I know.
We're not going to take no for an answer. And we're also not going to allow someone to tell us who we are.
Yes.
You know? And I feel like maybe at your time you had to listen because it's like, okay, we need documentation to feel validated. You know,
Absolutely.
for us, we don't need documentation.
Exactly. You're born
we just
here.
need a resume.
That's all it is.
We just need something. We're born here that'll say, okay, we can go ahead and apply to this job. Versus you guys kind of had to like stretch yourselves and like kind of even decrease yourselves at some point.
That's what we did.
And it worked for you guys. So I understand.
You know, imagine someone who have a degree in business and probably working in a restaurant, washing dishes, you know, things like that.
Right.
And then you have a degree in business. Think about it. You have a degree and then you're not even using it because you don't have the documentation per se to work. So you're going to have to work on one arena first, secure that arena then before you go to do the next one. Okay. So that's what happened. And then we feel that our kids have all these opportunities. Y'all can just juggle. You can go to work any corporate field that you want to. Long as you have your education, you can fly.
Oh yeah. You know what I love about you know, our generation too is the fact that, you know, we're finally the example.
Of course.
We are the example because we realize that, you know, we have these conversations all the time. You know, you guys didn't have the example.
No.
You know, even when I was talking to your sister, she was like, no one had the example of what this and this is supposed to be. We figured it out and we just went, you know, and I'm just like, imagine, you know, how many like people just went and just winged it. I do believe that there's some things that you don't need to wing if you have the resources, but I feel like, you know, you guys didn't have that. So now your children are made the example. Some of your children are not in corporate America. They're not engineers. They're not lawyers. They're not doctors. Some of them are actors. Some of them are musicians.
Yes.
Some of them are doing like wild things that are outside of the scope of what's culturally accepted.
Absolutely. And then really outside what we thought our kids would do. You see? So a lot of times we never expected our kids to be actors and comedians and, you know, and we never musicians and making money. We were like, who makes money doing all those things? You know,
you didn't have the example.
You know, so we didn't have much example. So what do you think? We were kind of limited to what we believed in.
Right.
And our kids now are showing us that, no, we can do more than going to read and going to school and all that. We can do more. We can do more with what we have.
I always say the sky is not the limit, it's beyond.
It's beyond
It's way beyond.
I had a friend of mine that the son wanted to be, the mom, again, wanted the son to be a doctor. Of course, and then the son said, Mom, we took the mom to the store, listen, all this, can all these things, we can't be alike. All these things are called differently. So you can't make me do this because this person's son is doing this. I'm going to be this. You know, I'm going to be this. I'm going to be a director. You know, the boy is did very well for himself. Doing very well. So, and at the end, the mom called me and was telling me when I was talking about Brad, he said, leave this boy, so leave this kids, they are going to do well. And I'm happy. And I know bigger things are coming.
Oh, yeah. I mean, all we pray is that our parents are alive to see it.
Yes.
Because we're not doing it just for ourselves.
No.
We know that those that are in it, whatever season of your life you're in, you know that this is not just for us or whoever the subject is of that season. It's not just for us. You know, we're clearly being used by God to be an example, not just for even our families, the world, you know.
Yes.
And I think it's just the fact that, you know, even us as millennials, we're seeing it. We have it in this little box, and God is like, actually, it's way bigger than
expanding
that. You know, it's way bigger than that. You know, He wants us to marvel over certain things or all the things that He does. You know, and then you guys are like, you know, just marvel over the money, the money, just marvel over the pot, and it's like, you know, okay, you know, it's good to make money. You know, I mean, who doesn't love making
Oh,
money?
yeah.
Who doesn't love a good direct deposit?
Mm.
But I think it comes to a point where we have to start, asking ourselves, is our purpose to just make money?
Oh, yeah.
And
I can see what
and
you're saying.
purpose is a different definition for everybody.
Yes.
Purpose is a total different definition, because some people don't feel that they are purposeful for
Yes.
what they're doing until they get the job.
That is true.
And it's just like, no, that's not true. And just being on this journey that I've been in, because just I did not know that I would be in this space. I had no idea. I was doing just fine in my career. I didn't. No one bothered me. I was fine. I thought that I had everything going for myself in my 20s.
Yes.
And then when I hit my 30s decade, I feel like, the transition, the way that things actually move quicker than expected. And then just being in this space now, I realized, I was just sharing this with Crystal yesterday, that I didn't realize the true definition of purpose until I moved into this space.
Yes.
I didn't find that purpose in corporate America. And it could be because maybe it was routine. I got up, you wake up, you get ready, you go to the office, you do your work, you go home. And then on top of that too, I was still an entrepreneur. I would get home, get right in the kitchen, get my customers' orders together, drive to them and drop off all my orders and things like that. And I would do that every single day.
That's right. We have orders every day, I remember.
Every day I would do that. And I had no issue with that because I felt like it's comfortable, it worked, and I'm getting paid.
Yeah.
But to know that God's mindset for me, and just changing my mind on what purpose truly is, and really, really revealing to me what my true gift is.
Yes.
Man, it's been quite the ride. It's been quite the ride. And I think another thing that I just silently enjoy is seeing that you guys, my parents, are seeing it, that it can work.
It can work.
And this is not even, I haven't even hit nothing. I haven't done anything like to where you guys need to be like, oh my gosh, okay, she did it, she's done. No, there's still more, and I don't know what that more is, but I'm looking forward to seeing it and being blessed with it. But, I'm enjoying it because at one point, I want to say even last year, I didn't feel like you guys were ever going to be on board. I didn't feel like you guys were going to be like, okay, finally, Rece is doing it, because although I'll say, man, I don't really care what, my parents got to say. I'm going to do what I got to do. And, to an extent, I really don't care what sometimes y'all got to say, to an extent. But I truth be, listen. But I will say this too. There's nothing more that would make me happy than to at least allow you guys to see the stages.
Absolutely.
So that one day you can say, well, I wrote it out with her. I toughed it out with her.
Sure did.
I got to be front row to this. And it genuinely makes me happy, to know, even you being on the couch, this wasn't planned.
Oh yeah.
This was not.
It wasn't.
This was not a conversation.
I never knew. I was going to be on the couch.
Nobody knew, but I mean, it's really amazing to watch because, I think this conversation was important because I think that, first generation.
Yes.
We have a lot of resentment with our parents.
I agree.
A lot of us have resentment. And some of us will not say it's resentment. We won't admit it's resentment. Because I know at one point I did. I know at one point my siblings did. A lot of us had resentment because I think, and this is, for me, this is just my experience. I think it's based off of assumption because I didn't have a conversation.
Yes.
Not even realizing that conversation will heal.
That's true.
Conversation also resolves issues. And conversation will actually allow you to avoid negativity.
Absolutely.
It will allow you to avoid the extra stuff that you don't have to hear, And it's like, stand your ground, put your foot down. That's nice. But understanding that my parents really do care about me.
Very much.
They really do care about me. They love me. They don't want me to lack in anything.
Absolutely.
So if it sounds extreme, it's because they are a parent, And if and hey, there's times where, me, I'll shut down. I'll be like, Mom, I can't talk right now. I know. And I'll be very direct about it. You guys know how I feel about, my space, my feelings, my emotions. And which you've been doing really great with, giving me my space lately. You have been, even though you got your days, but you're a mom. But you guys, I think that, like I said, this conversation was very important because I feel like, like I said, first generation, we have a lot of resentment.
Oh, yes.
And we're not admitting their resentment because we feel like, well, that's just how they are. That's just how we think. That's just how we are. And I'm like, is that just how y'all are? Or y'all just haven't had no conversation and y'all are just avoiding. Avoiding, like my good friend Vanessa said, avoiding is not healing.
Yes.
It's not healing at all. And, and even us having this conversation, because somebody may, in the audience may feel like, oh, was it a detrimental relationship? No, it's not detrimental. I think it's just two people that just didn't have had a misunderstanding. And, two people or two groups of people that had a misunderstanding, and we took it and we felt like, you know what, this person doesn't understand, so we're not going to explain ourselves, but I do appreciate you for coming to the couch and having these conversations. I think I also wanted this conversation too because I think that mother and daughter relationships
It's very important.
are very, very important.
Very, very.
And I don't know what stage of life people are in. I'm not sure how people talk to their moms and things like that. With us, I found out so much about you when I started asking you questions.
Exactly.
And I was like,
I think
these are the questions. And the fact that you were responsive is the one that really took me by surprise. Just even knowing the relationship between you and your mom and just you being, 18 and leaving, things like that. I'm like, wow, my mom is a human being. She's not the typical, okay, she's a girl's girl. Okay, she is one of the home girls, but that was me having a conversation. And me cutting out the excuses. And so I feel like for me, I think it closed the chapter of resentment for me.
I have to add this. And I think, again, like I said, most mothers and daughters' resentment is like lack of communications.
Oh, 100%.
Because the girls are not asking mom questions. They refuse
it's
to
hard
talk
to y'all. Because it's hard. And I don't judge anyone that can't, because it's very difficult to explain yourself, especially if you're growing up in a different time.
That's
the
point.
Everything, like everything is like, whether it be about sex, whether it be about, how you carry yourself, your character, your careers. It's just so many different things that are happening to women today that our mothers never experienced.
I agree with you.
And then that could be another assumption too. It could be our mothers did experience it. We're just not asking no questions.
Exactly.
And so now we're relying on our friends or our homegirls who had a way different experience, who are just going based off of what they saw as well. So now we've made that become our desire.
Yes.
So, I mean, everybody's not going to have the guts to sit their mom down, and it's heartbreaking to see. I know people personally, like, that I love and care about, that don't have a relationship with their mother, and or I have some that their relationship is growing.
Yes.
And I have some that have, when I say close, like they are like close beans and rice. I mean, they are very close, so everybody's in different stages.
Oh, yes.
And I think it's just very hard to, the messaging and articulating, how we want a relationship is very hard. And then, sometimes, mom, your generation, it's like y'all have children for aesthetics. If I'm being honest, like, y'all have children for aesthetics. And it's like, okay, I know that. It's almost like you guys have to have children because culture said y'all have to have children, but it doesn't say the relationship part, because y'all feel like, well, you're a child, so you need to stay in a child's place.
That's part of the culture. But the only thing is this: as you guys, and let me tell you something. And a lot of times, don't blame us. Don't blame us, because some of us didn't really have that relationship. It's always
it's true.
Children on this side, mom.
Oh yeah.
And dad on this other side, and
Not
there's
having a
no
voice.
time, no voice. You can't say much.
Yeah.
And I guess for me, because I was so young at home, I won't say much. What will I have to say?
Right.
I won't say nothing, because I remember one time. I can remember when I was about to come to America. I think I was in Lagos with my mom, and we were watching TV innocently. As an innocent girl, I'm watching TV. And at that time, you would barely see boy and girl kiss on TV.
Oh my God.
So, well, listen, there was an episode that was a boy was about to kiss a girl, and my mom was like, I have to leave the room. Go to the other room. I'm like, okay. And I just, to me, I felt like, what is mom doing? You know, and out of respect, I did what she said. She told me to leave the room, and I left the room. You know, but today, tell me.
Oh, please. We're watching it with our parents these days.
Okay.
We're watching it with our parents.
Okay.
And it's still awkward. Please don't think that it's not awkward because we're like, yeah, we rather not. Like, I think for me, it's like it's not even like, it's a level of respect.
Yes.
That I think that we have with some of our parents.
Mm-hmm.
So we just feel like, you know what? Let's not do this with them. And it's just awkward. It's just weird.
I agree.
It's super weird, you know, because what we're talking with our little girlfriends on the phone, you know, is different what we're talking to y'all about.
That is true.
You know, so it's just, I don't know. It's a little awkward.
Again, it's about open relationship with your children. And I think we started having more open relationship when you got like in your 20s, you know, I said, okay, I guess they're going to say, what we're going to say will be working together. You know,
we were still filtering out stuff.
Exactly.
We were still filtering out stuff.
You know,
so, it wasn't everything we were sharing. Trust me.
I agree.
Trust me.
I agree. But, you know, I'm glad that at least, you know, we have come to the stage of, you know, we can talk to each other very well.
We've gotten so far.
And discuss ideas, and some that you may agree with, some you may not agree with. So, but I'm glad we've grown to that stage of, you know, correct me if I'm wrong.
we do, and you know what I appreciate that you do? You will always, anytime you feel like you made a mistake, you'll apologize.
Of course.
And you'll say, okay, well, what is it that I did wrong? Even if I'm like heated.
Yes.
And for whatever reason, you always come at the wrong time sometimes. I'll be like, can I just like, I don't know. You're just a funny person. But, you know, I do appreciate that you're taking the time to just listen.
Yes.
Because
very
I
important.
think that's where a lot of our disagreements came from. That both of us are not listening. I won't only put it on you. Both of us are not listening.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm right. You think you're right.
Uh-huh.
So therefore there's always a disconnect.
Oh, yes.
You know, and you know, like I said, two different cultures.
Two different cultures at the end
of the day. It doesn't matter if you're Nigerian, you have Nigerian parents.
You know what? And I just want you all to understand that, you know, we've come a long way.
We definitely
we've come a long way. And
it was work.
It's work.
It was work. And it's still working.
Oh, yes.
It's
work
still
in progress.
Now. It's a work in progress. I think every day we are learning
that's all it is.
How to communicate. And, you know, I think that, you know, I think a lot of people are waiting for their moms to say they're sorry. They're waiting for their mom to just come in their room and give them a hug. They're waiting on their mom to kind of like just say, you know, okay, let's talk.
And think about, some of us, we are real grown and had our life grown up in Nigeria and then coming over here, probably marriage, coming to America with their kids. So it's kind of,
so you have to grow up early.
It's going to be not only that, it's going to be much more culture shock with the way they see things.
Yes.
The way I see things will be different from the way someone who's grown in Nigeria coming here will see things. I may see things that that's okay, that's nothing. But that person will see something and say, no. Oh no, and the person will make a comment, you know, aren't you Nigerian? It's not supposed to be. But I say, you know what? Hey, times have changed, babe.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I definitely
Times
agree.
have changed.
Times have definitely changed.
You know, and we have to go with the time. You know, things have changed, and you need to, you know, let's just cut you off some slacks. That's the way I look at it.
And you know, and we need to do the same. We need to cut you guys some slack too.
I think so too.
Because I think it's just us giving each other mercy and grace, knowing that, you know, we're all still learning. You know, we're not going to get it right every day.
No.
You know? Because the thing about it is that, you know, when you're coming, you know, I still feel like even coming over here to this country, and then some people brought their children. I didn't even think about that.
Yes.
I have friends that they came here as kids with their parents.
Okay.
So, you know, just the culture shock of raising their kids in America newly, and they're learning a new culture, and they're like, oh my gosh, like, what is all this? I don't want my kids to be in this.
That's the point I'm telling you.
And I'm over here like, but this is right, and it's ethical. And if it's ethical, like, why are you not following it? You know,
absolutely. And a lot of times you find a whole lot of parents who just bring their kids to America when they're younger, that they clash with their children so much that The kids go to school and they hear this and they're coming home, mom is saying this, and they go out there, their friend is doing this, and they come home, mom say, you can't do this. And it's like, what part do we follow? This or that? You see, so that's why a whole lot of, and then that's the time for communication.
Communication.
It's time for talk. It's time for, okay, we're in a new place, and this is the way they do things over here. And I'm in a new place. I have to learn to deal with it, be a mom in a foreign country as well. As well. So
Didn't think about that.
it is some things that, you guys who also, just remember, as you dealing with moms,
No, understood, Mom. This was a great conversation. I appreciate you, like I said, for chatting with me and just being yourself. I mean, you can't help but be yourself, if I'm being honest with you. Yeah, that's how you always been. But I'm hoping that people will take this conversation and, sit with your mom. Just have a conversation. Just, how is your day going? Just let it flow from there. There is a lot of things that you would be surprised that you do not know about your mother. And, hopefully this episode allows people to kind of heal, kind of break away from that resentment and understand that, you're just two different people. You're individuals, and I think it's a blessing to have a mother that is present as well. But so I appreciate you for blessing me. And you even get, I know you never got to really pursue your journalism career, but I mean, you get to be a part of this. So
I'm so excited.
You get to step into the world of this.
Thank you.
That's really, really exciting. You're funny. But all right, guys, this is the end of this episode. You guys, this was a lot to unpack, but yeah, this is the end. Bye.
Thank you. Nice being here.
Thank you.
It's gonna cut it off anyway.
Oh my gosh.